All right, back at Starbucks off Markham, post Arkansas, Texas A&M. It's the Arkyana Hogs Podcast with former Razorbacks Rick David and Mike Shepard, and I'm Jim Harris with the podcast, and our friends here in Starbucks as we. It's not the water cooler; it's the coffee shop. We're going to talk to a couple of guys who've been there, been in the trenches. And then we're there again Saturday night to see it happen, see the Hogs that have followed them in action in a tough loss. Arkansas loses in overtime 28-21. Guys, just started out by saying I think everybody in the state felt like they were putting the sword to themselves late Saturday night after another heartbreaker. Almost identical game to last year, in that Arkansas seemed like they're in control in the fourth quarter and losing overtime to A&M. Just going to turn it over to y'all to tell everybody your feelings after seeing the game the other night, and how does a football team like this, so many close losses, 0-9 now for Brett Bielema, I think, in games decided by 7 points or less, 0-8 for the quarterback Brandon Allen, although as we get into this podcast, I'm going to tell you, the finger pointing at Brandon Allen, he took this one after the game. He said it is on him. I got to say, there's a lot more blame to go around on this one than to just say the quarterback couldn't get it done. But how do you keep fighting back again in the third year and all these close losses? We'll start with Mike.
Well, first, good to see you, Jim.
Good to see you, Mike.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
I feel like we ought to have some whiskey in our coffee this morning, just to numb the pain a little bit. For those of you fans out there that went to the game last year in Dallas, it was a similar story, and it's hard to believe that there could be a repeat of that. At the same time, I want to acknowledge some of the positives that I observed when I arrived to the stadium. The Razorback fans were there in full force, very enthusiastic, and I think this game is a really good way to demonstrate the type of fans we have in this state. Rick and I and Steve Hudson went down, and when we arrived, we anticipated it just like most fans did, that we're getting over the hump. It's tough to take this one as a fan, of course, but I do think overall, as a general statement, that it was player execution and mistakes that caused us to drop this one. So I just wanted to throw that out there in the beginning.
I'm not going to rehash the schematics of the game and the emotions of the game, because I think we've all done it. It's time to start looking at what went wrong and then what went right. And the one thing that you've got to appreciate with Brett Bielema, Jim, you asked, how does this team recover? Well, Brett Bielema was a positive leader in how he handles this team, and that's why every week they show up. Even though they're getting kicked in the gut nonstop, they show up every week to play. And that goes to show, number one, you recruit the right type of kid, and number two, he's coaching the right way to bring these guys out of the depths of depression that they're really kind of in after each one of these kind of games. That's a strength of this. Another strength is, when we have problems schematically, it seems like things get fixed. And, you look at, okay, we couldn't run the ball really well against UTEP and Toledo. And then Alex Collins pops for 170 against Texas Tech and 150 against Texas A&M. Two better defenses by a wide margin, right? Then you go ahead and you look at the defense. The defense is having problems, with misdirections. They couldn't get off the field versus Texas Tech. And then next thing you know, on third down conversions, Texas A&M was 2 of 9. That's pretty impressive. That is the good news. The thing that's really kind of frustrating, I think there are some problems with our play calling at the end of the game can get a little conservative. In my time in Fayetteville, playing for the Hogs, we had conservative approaches, with Coach Hatfield and even Jack Crow, and sometimes those conservative thought processes, could bite you in the backside a little bit. We were playing against Texas my junior year. We won 14-13 here in Little Rock. Last time we played Texas in the SWC, And if it wasn't for three missed field goals by Texas in that game, we could have lost that game. Remember, Jim?
Sure.
91?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because in the first half we were very aggressive, and we got up on 14 up. In the second half, we just started running football. And I think something that could really help us out is really kind of utilizing our playmakers on the outside. I think we got a little more speed at receiver to really help us out in those given situations where we can close it out. But then just the overall team discipline needs to be more of an emphasis late in the ball game. They need to be more methodical, less emotional. I think they press a little bit, and when you get emotional, you tend to press. What they need to do is be more machine-like and press in the right way and go, okay. And you got that look in your eyes. I'm taking this game over, and I'm going to be very galvanized in what I do. So, a lot of good things can come from this weekend. I don't think the Hogs are going to let off the gas pedal in any way, shape, or form. If anything, I expect them to be even better this week than they were last week.
Well, they got a little more.
Sure. Well, okay.
Rick's right on with that. I think that the strength of this coaching staff and these players that they've recruited will be the resilience. They have been through this before. Something's driving these guys outside of wins and losses. They deserve the win. I think they'll continue to seek it. You'll see a very good team show up for Tennessee this weekend.
Let's touch on some. I know y'all don't want to rehash kind of the same thing we talked about. You guys riding back from Dallas, but let's talk about comparatively the A&M game last year and this year. What do y'all think happens? I mean, you hate that the game even gets to overtime, but then in the 3 overtime games they've been in under Brett Bielema here at Arkansas. And with the game last year, they scored on the first play in overtime last year. They scored on a pass second play this year. And then Arkansas, does what you're supposed to do. I mean, Arkansas won the coin flip. Each time you would think something would work out in Arkansas's favor besides the coin flip. Arkansas goes on offense, has to score a touchdown, and basically, peters out in 4 downs. So it's just kind of dissect this. Tell me what happens with this team, the approach defensively, and even the approach defensively when you're trying to protect a 8-point lead with 4 minutes to go, and to have that kind of confusion that reigned, that gives up a huge pass to set up the touchdown to Josh Reynolds. I mean, that guy, he's coming. He's a guy they really go to in the clutch. He's a guy they went to in the clutch last year. I mean, he's a track guy. How do you have these kind of head-scratching defensive alignments that give up plays like that?
I think when you look at the history, I was a history major, by the way, at the U of A, so it fits that I look backwards, right, to find the answers.
Sure.
But I think when you look at the history of how well Arkansas had done in the past in overtime under Coach Nutt, particularly when we had Matt Jones at quarterback, what element did he bring? He brought a high level of excitement, misdirection. It was sit on the edge of your seat football, really is what it was. And in an overtime situation, you've got to throw the kitchen sink.
You're in the red zone.
You're in the red zone. Let's go. I'm going to try and cut your throat. Then you go to the Petrino era, right? And then his first year when we beat LSU and he threw the ball on a 4th and 2.
Yeah.
And he threw a deep pass to London Crawford that sealed the game for us. That's the kind of attitude you've really got to take. You've got to take the chances. Take the chances of trying to win, because that's what is winning football now. That old school 60s, 70s, early 80s type of football, it's gone. It's no longer a part of the game. And then you look at what is happening to the players at this time. It's kind of, you can see that there's a mindset of, this is happening again, as opposed to I'm not letting this happen. I'm going to tear into you. And we become timid, and that I know that's not what coaches teach them. That's where as players you've got to have the emotional edge to go, I'm going to take this thing over and win it. And if I win it, if I'm going to lose it, I'm going to lose it by trying to literally, be aggressive. There's nothing wrong in overrunning a play if you're going full street trying to take someone's head off. You know, I mean, there really is nothing wrong with that, and that's kind of where I take it.
You know, Rick, watching the game right there at the end when Greenlaw turned around and looked at his safety and was checking in to say, "Hey, you got this guy. Are you over the top?"
It was too late by then.
Right. Well, are you over the top? We saw that.
Yeah.
I think at that point, you mentioned, at one point too, that the Hogs did very well against the pass, and when you expected by having the 6 defensive backs in, I think that could have been a difference maker there. Now, when you get to overtime, I agree with you. You've got to have something up your sleeve that you can pull out and at least take them out of the usual that you've had all game. Brandon Allen, during the game, I saw fire there. I saw a competitive. He wanted to take it and get it done. He ran the ball. He took some chances there as well. In overtime, their players made plays. Our players did not, and I think that kind of reiterates what you were saying. That number 3 for A&M,
Christian Kirk.
Kirk, he made the play over our number 1 man cover guy. So he made the play. We did not. I do think that there's a mental place that we go in those situations. We've been here enough times that some of these guys, it's hard as a fan not to go there too. It's a mental thing. I don't know how you do that as a coach. How do you get out of that cycle in your head? I don't think that we have a coaching problem. I think we have a history problem.
Yeah.
And we've got to break out of that. I truly and firmly believe that Bielema is doing the things that it would take. No other coach in this situation would have performed any better than Bielema currently. So that's my spin on it.
Yeah, I do believe
Throw
that,
that mic around.
that there is
Just take it off of that.
It's-
Just keep it.
I do believe that
It's a nice wood table, everybody.
absolutely.
Yeah.
When you look at the snafus late in the game from a coverage perspective, situation where, skipper jumps off sides, at the beginning of overtime, that's the mindset approach that needs to change. And what you have to look at, too, on the offensive side of the ball, we need to start looking for players that can turn a game. When you have a Christian Kirk on the field and he's on the other side of the field from you got to match that some way, shape, or form on the offensive side of the ball and get our playmaker running. You sit there and you look at, going back in time, we had our Darren McFadden's, we had our Matt Joneses, our Quinn Grobies, and those guys were electric. And on offense right now, we have some very, very good players, but are they electric? I don't think we have that guy. Alex Collins is going to have a future in the NFL if he continues to run like he's going, but he's the most electric thing that we really kind of have. Our tight ends are very good and accomplished, but, at the same time, they're not electric. We need somebody that does run that 4-3, 4-4 on offense, that if you put the ball in their hands, you go, wow.
Did injuries take that away from us?
A little bit with Jonathan Williams, because that just adds some more depth, but he's not going to be Leonard Fournette. Fournette is a different animal. Keon was a very good receiver. We're not fine. They're all A-minus guys.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to talent, I think character-wise, they're A-plus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we need. But I think from the perspective of having that dynamic player on offense that can turn a game, we don't have it.
Let's take this coffee break. Everybody can stand up, stretch, do whatever you do at home when you're listening to a podcast. This is going to be the end of part 1. We'll be back with the second part. I don't know how many parts we're going to have. But let's just take a break here so we can split these up and send them easier over the internet to our main guy back at the house and see if we can get these on easier and people listen in small segments and have a second segment in just a minute. This is the end of the first segment of the Arkyana Hogs Football Podcast, hosted by your coffee-drinking generals, Rick Dalby, Mike Shepard. We'll be back.
Good, I got to
All right, we're trying out some new stuff here. See if this will get us. I think that'll pick us up when you want to turn it. Some interesting stats I want to give to everybody listening to the Arkyana Podcast, week 2 of the podcast. This is going to be going into week 5 of the season. So, okay, we started late. That's what Louisiana guys do, right? You kind of start.
Easy.
It's big easy.
It's big easy.
You just kind of
roll with it.
You kind of roll with it. It starts when it starts, and it kind of goes all night. Okay. Here's a stat for you for fans. Just a couple of them for fans going. You know, Brett Bielema is a loser in close games and all this kind of stuff. He's actually 19-15 with Wisconsin, so that's going to make him 19-24 overall in games decided by 7 points or less. Lost the last 4 at Wisconsin. So he's on a 13-game schneid, losing games of 7 points and games decided by 7 or less. In overtime, we mentioned he's 0-3 at Arkansas. He was 2-3 at Wisconsin. So, and he lost the last 3 in overtime at Wisconsin. So he's on a 0-6 overtime streak as well on the wrong side of that. So the odds tell you something's going to work out well because, you know, he won the close games at Wisconsin at times, and especially when he had the better players.
Yeah, but I think you have to look at,
you know,
this is also, we're in a rebuilding process. And as much as people want to say we arrived last year, we didn't arrive a year ago. You know, our record, you look at it and you go, we won 2 conference games. You know, we didn't arrive. Arriving is when you look at the end of the season and go, what did we do? And, you know, he needs time to be able to fill the roster with the guys he wants. When he comes on board, he has O-line deficiencies across the board. I mean, they really, we couldn't push anybody around. I mean, LSU and Alabama, that last year with Petrino when he was coaching, they manhandled us up front. You know, I mean, we were annihilated by those teams. And then you saw it even more, obviously, under John L. Smith, obviously coaching deficiencies as well as offensive line deficiencies. The secondary and the linebackers, you know, under John L. Smith and Bielema's first year, they just were not that good, you know. And so you've got O-line depth issues, you've got some D-line depth issues, and then you had secondary and linebacker depth issues. So he recruits a bunch of linemen.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. He gets Kirkland and Skipper come in, Alex Collins, and get some electric players, you know, and then he's signing secondary guys and, you know, building the program that way. But the linebacker, everybody sits there and says, well, you know, we miss Randy Shannon, and he was the best thing that ever happened. Who was our linebacker coach that whole time that recruited the linebacker? Randy Shannon. You know, it's going to take time. He still needs to continue to build the program like he wants to. Our recruiting's good right now, but he definitely needs to recruit the electric players.
Yeah, how many recruiting classes has Bielema had? You know, he's in his 3rd season, you know, so we're talking 2 recruiting classes. It comes down to our expectations as fans. You know, we want to win, and the pain or the immediacy of the loss to A&M and to Texas Tech, those are the things that we want to talk about. But if you step back and you're objective and you look at the results that Bielema has provided to us in the state of Arkansas, it's the best that we've seen. He's addressed the immediate needs of our program, and he's done it since day one, and he continues to do that. He has brought the best assistant coaches that we've had in a long time. This arrangement of assistant coaches, the players buy into them. They have a direct connection with those players. They get the best out of these guys. You know, the way we ended last year, that's a Bielema trend as well. He will move the team to be better every week, and you will peak at the end of the season. I think you'll see next week we do very well against Tennessee. So the fundamentals of Bielema are still in place. I'm not looking to blame after a loss like this. I think a lot of people are looking to blame someone, blame something that exists. We're still in a rebuilding phase, Rick, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately, a lot of people want to complain right now and vent their emotional frustrations, but at the same time, it just really kind of goes down to you got to let the process play out. The one thing I will say, though, with recruiting, He needs to go find the electric guy that's going to turn a game for us in a special situation late in the game. They're just so much more talented that they're going to make something happen. A Christian Kirk-like player.
Jay Will?
Possibly.
Well, possibly. I see Christian Kirk, Kyle Allen, they had Kyler Murray. All those guys are 5 stars. Myles Garrett at defensive end made a 5-star play. I mean, you can sit and blame our tackle for not for the pocket breaking down on the fumble, but you can also say, and if you're just a fanatic about Arkansas, you can sit there and just, our players didn't do it, our players did this, but if you look at it objectively and know that a 5-star player needed to make a 5-star play, and that was Myles Garrett making a great play on that rush. So, I mean, you can't take that away. Christian Kirk, I mean, I saw people ripping Henry. I think Henry Tolliver is going to cover most everybody he has to cover, but there's not many people in the SEC that are going to cover Christian Kirk this year. Arizona State found out how good he was right off the bat. He's not going to be covered by many people at all. I don't know if anybody can stay with him foot for foot all the way down the field. A guy like Josh Reynolds, they did a great job in their scheme of getting him isolated on a player that he was probably going to be. And that's our mistake. Blame the coaches on a bad mismatch there or whatever. We took 2 timeouts not knowing how to line up on that formation a couple times earlier in the game. There was costly timeouts in a way, or they could have been. But I think people forget that it does really come down eventually to players. And,
absolutely.
Texas always had the best players. Everybody, in Arkansas, Texas never looked at us really as a rivalry except for that little stretch in the 60s. I mean, a real rivalry. It was our rivalry. But Texas always dressed out the 4- and 5-star players out of Texas back under Darrell Royal and Fred Akers and guys like that. And to beat them was special for us. But we did it under Frank Broyles, 5 out of 19 times. Holtz beat them a couple times, I think. You think about that. Texas A&M could pretty well as close to having where Texas was as far as talent. Texas A&M has become sort of the Texas in that state, perhaps. I mean, Baylor may argue, TCU might argue, but I just think there's that factor then. Okay, now let's fast forward to this week, though. We're going up again against, I think they've done a better job. If any coach that came in when Bielema came in has done a much better job of recruiting based on the ratings of the players, certainly that would be Butch Jones. He's brought in some terrific talent that still can't quite get over the hump either, but he's got a lot of 5-stars, and he's got probably more 5-stars than A&M does.
Offensively, I think once again, the way Butch Jones has done it is through receivers, running backs,
quarterback.
He's got that electric player that we're talking about. But up front, they aren't that good. Up front, we're going to win those battles this week. Now they've got that big nose guard, McKenzie, obviously, who's a player. But they're not going to. They've taken a different route than what we have in these initial 3 recruiting classes that they've been able to bring on. It's been, okay, I'm a spread offense. I need to get electric players on the outside, which is a good thing to do. But then up front, they're going to have some issues. Their offensive line's just not very good, and their defense has given up a lot, especially at critical moments. So, kind of, once again, you look, there's a program that's trying to build into something. They got beat by a program that's restarting in Florida, but Florida's still got talent,
Let's look at what we saw on the field, and what we've seen every week is progress. We've seen very good coaching addressing the needs that we have to have schematically. Performance of the players on the field each week has gotten better. You just mentioned something. Our offensive line had a very good game against A&M, and we exposed A&M for their weakness on their defensive front. What was their nose guard, number 5? Wasn't he a 5-star recruit as well?
I think they've got a 5-star kid.
We handled them, Rick, every play. You saw it in person. With Alex Collins, he had 2 gaps to choose from when he would hit the line. If he was stopped in his hole, he would cut back. That's going to happen again this week. we're going to move the ball very effectively against Tennessee. If we can do two things better this week, we will win this game. One is you have to have players make the plays on the last drive. You have to have that. Number two is cut your penalties in half. Cut your mistakes in half. We beat Tennessee if those two things happen. It doesn't matter about 5-star recruits in this game.
Yeah, it is. You ultimately got to play more disciplined football, to say the least. Mike hit the nail on the head right there. The penalties, you wipe out. Let's say we had those penalties down to 4. Okay, we win that ball game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that really is. When you break down the game, you know, the 7 factors that are important. You know, how physical are you? We won that.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth quarter, we lost. Why do we lose that? Penalties, which is another component, right? Turnovers, which we lost a turnover battle.
Third down conversions, we won.
Third down conversions, we won.
Time of possession.
Time of possession, that's something I just don't think is relevant anymore. It just depends on what kind of game you're playing. But I look at, you know, special teams, defense, and then offense in that order. You know, special teams,
we won.
We were pretty solid. They got some returns on us. Kirk Pop on that one. Then you look at it from the perspective of the defense, we won. Offense, you know, golly, we won.
You can't play any better than that.
No, it's penalties and turnovers. Yeah, we lost those.
This will bring us to the end of the second segment. We'll have one more for our podcast. We should have done that right before the chair got dragged from our table to the next here at Starbucks on Markham. And hey, I'm not probably stepping out of line by saying, if you're ever up here on a Monday morning, say hi to us. We're up doing this recording on Monday morning up here at Starbucks on Markham at the Midtown.
Recruiting talent.
Yes, we are. We're always looking for talent coming through, and always, you know, we'll pass it along at least, you know, to the parties that need to know where the talent is.
That's it.
Because that's what it's all about eventually.
Absolutely.
Is talent. So yeah, we're going to take this break, and we'll come back with the part 3, our final part of the Arkyana Hog Razorback Broadcast podcast after this.
Some of our best stuff is offline.
I know, but we need to just do this online, so we will. Part 3, our final part, final segment of the Arkyana Hogs podcast here on September 28th, the week of the Tennessee game. Guys just back from Arlington and lost to A&M 28-21 in overtime. I'm Jim Harris. The podcast consists of Rick David, who played safety for Ken Hatfield and Jack Crow, Mike Shepard, who played defensive tackle for Ken Hatfield. You didn't play for Crow, did you?
No.
Lucky you.
My last year was Hatfield's last year.
Lucky you. Because Jack Crow kind of stepped out last week. Somehow he got interviewed on Paul Feinbaum's show. I was really surprised at some of the quotes, but then I saw you contact me, Rick, and say, really surprised at what Coach Crow said about the Arkansas job and Brett Bielema.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those situations where you look at a coach, criticizing a coach who's kind of in a similar situation as to what Coach Crow was in his third year, and not winning some games he thought he should win. And, you know, you just hate to see another coach dogging out another coach and saying he doesn't have much time. And especially when the situations are a little bit different in regards to the university and the status with the coach and his players. And so, you know, it was just hard to see that. But I just disagreed with him also. I don't think Bielema's going anywhere anytime soon, regardless of the contract or whatever the case may be. I think there are a lot of good things that are there. And then second off, A&M game was not a make or break. Our season isn't over. It isn't. You know, we got a lot of ways, a long way to go.
A lot of season left.
You talked history earlier, Rick, and we were just getting on the subject of, let's be realistic, looking backward as well as forward. Bielema's got us heading on the right track. I don't think anybody could do a better job than Bielema of riding the ship and then have us moving in the right direction. If you look backward, if you look toward history, y'all were referencing Jack Crow, Houston Nutt, Petrino. And, you know, when you look for that electric player, that you were talking about.
Yeah, that's it.
The electric player, where does he come from? It's not going to be from the state of Arkansas this year.
It's built. The recruiting is built for Bielema ball right now, which is a good thing because the best player we have in the state is one of the best in the nation, a defensive end. You don't have a Jarius Wright. You don't have a Joe Adams. You do not.
You don't have a Darren McFadden. You don't have a Matt Jones right now.
And that's exactly it. Petrino walks in, and he has an opportunity to get a quarterback that's playing in the NFL right now, and Ryan Mount, and he transfers it. You also get Tyler Wilson, who is sitting here in the state. Hadn't been recruited by the University of Arkansas. Coach Nutt didn't recruit him. Petrino walks in, gives him a scholarship, which was a great move. And then you go ahead and you see you've got Jarius Wright, Joe Adams, and Chris Bragg all sitting here in the state. That all complemented Petrino's style of football. And those guys were electric, and they won football games for us. We were losing to Texas A&M, what was it, 35-38 to 17 in 2011. And guess what? 2 Arkansas boys brought us back. Mm-hmm. Tyler Wilson, Jarius Wright. And that was a show those boys put on.
That's right. And if you listen to Bielema, he'll tell you, winning a game like Saturday comes down to one play. It can come down to one play. It can come down to one player, Kirk. So that one player can make the difference. Where do we find this game? I think that Bielema gives us a chance to make that happen outside of the state of Arkansas this year. I think that his staff. So, if you want to talk individual players, if you want to talk recruiting, I think that's where we are. I think we're in the best space.
Our out-of-state recruiting is much better than what it was in the past.
But you guys came from out of state to Arkansas, and you came at a time when Arkansas had a great reputation before you came. I mean, they've been off, the 60s, the 70s, and through the early 80s, Mike, before you came, and Rick. Arkansas was a player up at the top. I'm thinking about the guys I mentioned for A&M, the electric guys, or the guys from the other night. Miles Garrett is from Dallas-Fort Worth, but Christian Kirk was out of Arizona. Kyle Allen out of Arizona. There's 2 pretty decent programs in the state of Arizona, and both those guys, both who are electric in their own way, Kirk especially, bypassed those schools. They could have gone anywhere in the country, and A&M got, and I'm not sure why.
Well, I know why.
It's not.
Their reason why is the brand of football that they play. You sit there and you look at. Let's go back in time, right? And let's take a look at what Arkansas was known for: electric quarterbacks, right? We really had them. Quinn Grovey, that type of quarterback that could really, throw it and run it. Grovey, his senior year, I take that kind of player. Yeah. His junior and senior year, where he was unbelievable in both aspects of playing the position. And then you go ahead, there's Matt Jones. We had that, and that brand of football was there. So, if you're Texas A&M and you've got Johnny Manziel, guess what? That kind of player is going to come to you, and that's what they're ultimately getting. Look at what LSU's done with their running back position. You had Jeremy Hill, right? Now you got Leonard Fournette. They're doing it at the running back. We're doing it on the lines, which is a very important component in this. That's why we're getting great recruits on the lines. I think what he wants to be able to do, though, he couldn't pass the ball. Oddly enough, they show up, and after talking with coaches, they were shocked at how low the talent was at the quarterback and receiver position. And the next thing you know, he's trying to build a program, and he's thinking he's got the passing game complete when he takes the job, and that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Again, the assistants that we have in place are very effective recruiters for the state of Arkansas. You got Smith recruiting or coaching the wide receivers. I think what did he tell us prior to the season? You need 5 SEC wide receivers in your stable in order to win the big games.
We've got 3 are hurt.
Yeah, 3 of those 5 that we felt like were going to get us there are gone right now. They're not on our field. So injuries play a role in our current situation. I'm with you too, Rick. We're recruiting linemen, which is what we needed. Linebacker, we're a little bit shy right now. Defensive backs, we actually address that. Yep. So when it comes to recruiting, we're giving ourselves the best chance. Expectations from our fans are very high, and they should stay there. But you also have to be realistic about who's going to come to play Bielema ball in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I think we're getting.
Well, that was going to be my question: is to y'all were recruited, and let there be no question either. You guys are Caucasian. How do you get the African American player these days, which seems to be even more prominent in the SEC game? I'm just going to be flat out blunt here. It doesn't look like Fayetteville serves as a great place to attract a lot of the Christian Kirks of the world, whatever, the guys that are the...
It's getting better.
It is.
Fayetteville's a much better destination than it used to be.
Some people, though, try to say that it's too Midwest. It's not deep South. It's not even really SEC-oriented the way College Station might be.
If you're going to go to College Station and play football, okay, you're going there for College Station? No, you're not going there for College Station. I'm just not going to college.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there. That place is up in the middle of a pasture.
Yeah.
It's nothing. You go to Baylor, you want to go to Waco? You really want to go to Waco?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so it's not the reason why. It's the coaching staff, the atmosphere of the team, and what are your facilities like? That's ultimately boil it down to those aspects. Because you would not want to go to College Station to go on vacation or Waco, but you're more willing to go to Northwest Arkansas and enjoy yourself. I think what it takes is, like I said, it's the brand of football. No matter what's going on, it is the brand of football. And how do you feel from hanging out with your teammates? Do you feel that family atmosphere? Those two components are more important than anything. You see these kids right now, you read the recruiting quotes right now with the kids that we have committed. They're not going anywhere. They believe in the coaching staff. They believe in the atmosphere that's up on the hill. And you know, when people come to Fayetteville, recruits go, wow, it's nice up here. That comes no matter where you are, what background you come.
You know, when we were playing ball, you know, how did you label a recruit? It was a blue chip.
Yeah, you don't hear that a lot.
Yeah.
It's 5-star.
Yeah, it's so much more specific now trying to measure these guys.
Blue chip.
You know,
there was a wide range of blue chip.
Yeah. I think we have the best chance of winning up here with our recruiting abilities because of the development of players once they get here. Now, back to attracting players. You know, why are you attracted to Fayetteville? Rick said it. It's the coaches. It's the players that exist, and it's the opportunity to succeed, get to the pros for some. And Fayetteville provides all of that. The facilities aren't any better anywhere else, period. So all of those fundamentals are in place. I think you have the assistants that can expand our reach into the other states. They've already shown that. So we are moving forward.
Yeah, so when you sit there and you think about it, I think about who I am. And we talked about that this weekend as we were committing penalties post-game, using ourselves with tequila and whiskey.
Flag.
Flag. There was flags left and right, especially the next morning. But basically what it was is we sat there and I said, you know, when I went on my recruiting visit and I met Mike and Steve, I'll never forget that going, I like these guys. These are guys I could hang out with. Here we are, you know, 25 years later, and, you know, Mike and Steve are some of my best friends. And we went to the game this weekend and really enjoyed ourselves. Just the Steve Hudson, that is. And then, so that component. And then, you know, I just felt like I could trust Coach Hatfield, Roger Henshaw, Bob Trott, you know, all of these guys that you just came in contact with, and you go, I enjoyed it. And then I was fortunate that I had Lewis Campbell come on board, and, you know, Coach Campbell and Fitz Hill. You know, these guys I still keep in contact with today.
Today's recruit, it also involves the parents. I think when the parents of these recruits today, no matter where you're from, ethnicity, race, any of that, it comes down to trust of the coaches. And I would play for Bielema today. I would play for his staff. I think the environment there is very attractive to any recruit that comes on campus and sees Fayetteville, the facilities, the intangibles that you feel if you got around these players.
The last guy I would play for is Bobby Petrino. Because I know for a fact, because my roommate worked for him, I know a bunch of people in that complex, and the last place I would want to be is Arkansas under Bobby Petrino.
Well, I do like the fact that he somehow lucked out and got Darius Fyline, Trey Flowers. I think we miss those guys. I do think that there are guys in the line that can be those guys eventually
We're still awfully young there. I don't think people looked at the roster defensively. Look, there was no SEC, all-SEC player named from Arkansas from defense.
Yep.
Not a one. You got to take that in consideration that they are young in a lot of spots. Most of the defense, I don't see any interference penalties. Maybe I wish we did. Maybe I wish somebody had just grabbed Josh Reynolds taking a 15-yard penalty instead of a 50-something yard catch. But penalties are on the offensive side. I would hedge to guess that Arkansas right now would be no worse than 3-1 if they're not getting all these flags they're getting. This is going to be my last question of the podcast. For you guys as players, you know you're drawing 10-plus flags a game, 100 yards and penalties almost. You're wiping out touchdowns against Tech, against Toledo. I mean, they could have won the Tech game if they don't have a touchdown called off the board. You know, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have touchdowns in an offense that only scores about 14 to 21 points a game in these tight games that we've had. You can't take a touchdown off the board. You saw all the flags this past week that, to me, I think Arkansas took the game off the board. Not throwing the kid under the bus. I don't even need to name him anymore. But 4th and 3, I said it on the Hog Zone. To me, that penalty, Arkansas might not have made the 4th and 3. We don't know. But I don't think it mattered. A&M starting at the 15 or the 30 or the 35. I thought that they were probably going to drive the football and they'd have to make the 2-point. I thought that was the play. The making the 2-point conversion, is obviously giving them the ties is huge. But to get an offsides penalty or a procedure penalty, in the offensive line, to get the holdings that we're seeing, whether they're real or not, a lot of people believe we're being singled out. I don't know anything about that. I just know that some are pretty obvious. What do you do this week as players to at least eliminate half of them? Like, as you said, go to Tennessee and play with half the penalties you did. I mean, how do we do that this week?
The penalties that we had, first of all, are competitive penalties. You look at our offensive line, Skipper is one of the biggest competitors you've ever seen. He's going to have a penalty here and there, and it's not going to change. I don't think that's going to change. I think he's so competitive, and he's going to the whistle, and sometimes a little bit heavy.
Better problem to have than not have.
yeah, that's a good problem.
Yeah.
When it comes to jumping off sides on 4th and 3, I don't think you'll see that from your offensive line if it's a tight game against Tennessee. That's a one-off there. I don't know why that happened from our best offensive lineman. Roughing the passer. Let's hope that those don't happen again. Those are borderline.
Those were real
officiating
right there.
That's officiating. The holding on Smothers didn't exist. The nose guard fell to his knees.
You guys had the best view of it, really.
And honestly, the replay on the field was better than the televised replay. They did not show these again. These were not penalties that are typically called. I don't know why that happened in that game. We can't answer that. But I think going forward into Tennessee, the resolve of these guys and this coaching staff and the resilience that they've demonstrated already tells me, and I have big faith, that we're going to come back from this game and we're going to lay it on the line again. It's going to happen for us against Tennessee.
Yeah, I think when you look at it and you're a coach and you're saying, okay, how can I objectively tackle this situation with our penalties? You need to address it from a drill perspective, and you work your technique. Whether it's you're an offensive lineman, you're blocking down on a defensive lineman that's sliding off of you. You've got to technically correct that, and you've got to get a feel for: am I grabbing or am I pushing?
Hunter Henry?
Yeah, it's going. You want to know what? It's a critical moment. I can't hold on to the defensive end, keep doing a C stunt, and you just got to let him kill Alex Collins, unfortunately, because guess what? You can't have that penalty, which is going to back you up, as opposed to letting him get tackled at the line of scrimmage. That is something that you've got to technically work on, but then you look at it from an emotional perspective. these guys have to feel a little bit more. You touch the fire, it burns, right? Well, I'm wondering how much burn they're getting on this. You know, I'll never forget one of the worst feelings I ever had in my time at the University of Arkansas. We're playing SMU. It's 1991. Michael James gets a huge punt return, and I got called for holding. And I was taken to the woodshed, and that never happened again. I was on punt return my whole career. And I was fortunate to be on the field when Michael James returned one against Texas Tech in 91 for a touchdown, and then we did it to Tennessee and won it at Tennessee in 1992 with an Orlando Waters. Trust me, the last thing I did from that point on after that game was do it because that sticks in my. I still have a sunburn from that, as you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
The character of this team will take care of that. The character of this team. These guys are competitors. They have the right decision making, and I think you'll see this corrected this week in practice.
So are you guys going to Knoxville? What's the plan?
No, we will be here after traveling last week and the week before.
Yeah, we went to Dallas this weekend, and we're going to Tuscaloosa the following weekend. So we're going to spend some time with our family, so they'll stay together.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife wants me at home this weekend.
Well, I bet
and
they'll appreciate it. Maybe I'll see you guys on the Hog Zone on Channel 11 as well. But thanks for showing up here to Starbucks again on Monday to talk Razorback football and our Arkyana Hogs.
Do we have any time for a prediction?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We have time. We have time for everything. The coffee's gone, but at least the crowd's gone down too. So, yeah, what's your prediction this week?
I think the score is going to be flipped. Arkansas 28, Tennessee 21.
I'll go with that. I'll go with a 3-point difference. Call it 27-24 Arkansas. You know, last week I picked Hogs by 3 in overtime, if you recall. So let's hope we're close again.
Yeah, I think the Hogs are going to win this game, and I'll tell you why. And I know you guys agreed with me when we were talking about this before we started the podcast. Tennessee just came off the huge rivalry game with Florida. Their biggest rivalry is Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. They get Georgia next week. They've got Arkansas, little 1-3 Arkansas that can't win a big one, can't win a close one, coming in there this week. These guys play a little bit prima donna-ish for 4 and 5 stars. That's why I think they've blown some of the games they have. They've blown games. Arkansas has lost them. They were up 17-0 against Oklahoma, and then I guess they decided it was over. They forgot to finish that game. I think Arkansas's in the perfect spot. I think Arkansas's good enough to beat them anyway, but I think Arkansas's in the perfect spot on the schedule. I think Arkansas's in the perfect spot when they get Alabama, coming off Alabama's game at Georgia this week. So the season's not over. You guys agree with me. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are acting like the season's over, not the players. I'm talking about these fans on message boards and call-in shows and Twitter. They think the season's over.
They're thinking this is a John L. Smith talent team, you know, coaching, and it's just so far from that. If this team lined up against the 2012 team, they would win. I mean, it would be a 40-7 ball game. You know, feeling those teams versus John L. Smith teams. Completely different.
Oh yeah, the Hogs have, you know, just as much talent as we're seeing here in the Starbucks on Market.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I'll leave that one at that and say that I think Arkansas is going to win it 28-24. We'll be back again, Starbucks, next Monday to talk about it all and bring it to you on the Arkyana Podcast at your nearby internet site, wherever that might be. So thanks again, everybody. Jim Harris signing off. So long.